Okay, I'll call the village board meeting for December 17th, 2018 to order. Roll call, please.
Joe Zitzelsberger.
Here.
Sam Ballwig.
Here.
Sue Springman. Here. Bill Ranum.
Here.
Chris Zellner.
Here.
Phil Willems.
Here.
Aaron Rand. Here.
Okay, first we've got confirmation of open meeting compliance, public postings, official notices, and online availability. Julie?
Yep, I can confirm that the postings were provided as required. The official notices were posted, and it was made available online last week.
Thank you. Consent agenda, would anybody like anything pulled, or I'd look for a motion?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Susan Springman,
Second.
second by Phil Willems. Any other comments? Call the question, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment, is there anyone here who would like to address the board on an issue that's not on the agenda for this evening?
I have a public comment from Caleb Gottwald, 206 West 2nd Street.
Can we go to the podium or just stand
You
here?
can just stand if you want. I think, Keith, that's fine, right? Yep.
You good? Since we moved to Waunakee about 1.5 years ago, one common issue that we've seen come up at board meetings, at public feedback, is the village kind of taking liberties with certain ordinances, bending things to allow, developers, contractors to perhaps work a little bit outside of the exact specifics of the ordinances. And I just wanted to provide some feedback on a specific example that kind of directly impacts me. There is currently a MG&E gas infrastructure project on 2nd Street. We received a notice in the mail, I think back in September, from MG&E saying that as part of a road construction project, we're gonna upgrade the gas line in your neighborhood. I said, wow, 2nd Street's in pretty good shape. I would be interested to see what road construction's happening and how that would impact me personally. I sent some correspondence to village staff and they said, no, there's no road construction, but there is a gas project. Here's the permit that they've supplied for that, and here's the details of what they're going to do. So they're working in the terrace area between the street and the sidewalk. And the permit that they filed had several items that were either wrong, incorrect, or not completely in compliance with the ordinances. When I asked for further details, I was told by village staff that MG&E doesn't pay when they file a permit. They're allowed to square up once per year. Okay, if we allow them to do that, who else do we allow to do that, and how do we keep track of that? Per the ordinances, the permit is valid for 30 days. On their application, they outlined a 60-day window in which they would be working, which was, I have that here, October 1st to November 30th. We're already well outside of that window. I would think that an application needed to be filed, but it seems that with MG&E, we kind of give them some leeway, so I don't know for sure if an application has been filed for extending that window. They reference several ordinances to say we've read with and will comply with these village ordinances. I went to the village website to pull up those ordinances and could not find them. Turns out the ordinances that they referenced were from the 1988 version of the village ordinances. Those ordinances have been updated twice since then. I managed to find the magic decoder ring to say the 1988 ordinance matches up with this one in the next version, and then that ordinance matches up with this one in the current version, and it talks about the openings in public right-of-ways. And it very clearly states that no openings shall be made in the public right-of-way between November 15th and April 1st. Well, they didn't start until December, which is well outside of that, and when I questioned the allowance of that, they said, well, except for in a case of an emergency. And to me, I would define an emergency as an active water leak or an active sewer leak, and they justified it to say that, well, there were several emergencies recently, and this is just going towards helping to eliminate that. I can see my time is up, and I'd be glad to answer any other questions or provide any other feedback that you may have on that item.
Thank you. During public comment, we can't make any comments, but
Sure.
thank you for your comments, and we'll move on to the next.
I have one comment that was provided and asked to be read aloud. This is from Ann Lewandowski, 103 West 3rd Street. It is a letter from the Wisconsin Department of Justice to Peter Barca from Sarah Larson, the Assistant Attorney General, dealing with open government and greater guidance and clarity related to how local government matters are noticed and addressed under the Wisconsin Open Meetings Law. Specifically, the Attorney General has previously opined that the Open Meetings Law does not preclude governmental bodies from having a policy that, quote, confines public comment to the beginning of meetings, restricts the subject of comments to agenda items, and allows participation only by individuals who reside or pay taxes in the community. This is a correspondence from Chivarodi, September 19th, 2016, with emphasis added. And then she goes on later to ask that this paragraph be read also. In summary, I conclude that it is inadvisable for a government body to impose restrictions on a public comment period that would prevent the public from discussing noticed agenda items during a public comment period, and/or to impose restrictions that would limit discussion to only subjects that are not noticed on the agenda. Although restrictions of this type have not thus far been deemed illegal per se under Wisconsin Open Meetings Law, I do not consider them to be the kind of reasonable restrictions that have heretofore been sanctioned by the courts and the Attorney General, because such restrictions do not seem to comport with the purpose of the law. If a court were to rule on this issue, I believe it would likely find that the only reasonable way for a governmental body to impose subject restrictions during a public comment period would be for the governmental body to limit public comment only to subjects that are noticed on the agenda. Dated July 11th, 2018.
Any others?
That's it.
Todd, any comments for this evening? Board members? Okay,
We can make a comment? No, well, then why don't you ask?
not in, no, you can make a comment, just not on what was been talked about.
Nothing. Oh, okay.
Okay? All right. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, next we've got new business. Discuss and take action on MOA.
There's a public hearing.
Oh, sorry, missed it. Sorry, public hearing. Discuss and take action on certified survey map for Killarney Way, Kilkenny Farms. Brian, do you have this one?
Yep, I'll take this. So this is a certified survey map within Kilkenny Farms. It's taking 5 lots that are currently platted and making them into 4 lots, just so remove 1 lot to create 4 larger lots on Killarney Way. This has gone before the Plan Commission and the Joint Plan Commission, and both unanimously recommended approval of the CSM to the Village Board.
Okay. Okay, then I'll open up the public hearing for this item. Julie, do you have any forms?
Pardon me?
Do you have any forms for
No,
this?
I do not.
Would anybody like to address the board on this? Seems like about 2 minutes, sure, okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Board members, any questions, concerns?
I'm assuming there's just, there's a reason for this, and this doesn't really change anything economically or infrastructure-wise, or
No,
makes a more buildable lot, most likely.
yes.
I also think it makes sense because in those little areas like that, some of the lots, if you don't make them bigger, end up with very little frontage right there at the road, and this will adjust that to some degree and make it a, like you said, more buildable lot.
Yeah. The driveway would take up most of that
Mhm.
tiny little.
The only concern I would have with this, which is a legitimate concern in my opinion, is that we're taking 5 lots, creating 4, which could cause the cost of those lots to increase significantly for people. I don't know if that's the case, but
That's good for our taxes.
Probably balances out.
yeah, that's the only thing I could see is
You get more money.
you're adding more land, which would
The
probably
same
add more
taxes,
cost.
You get the same amount.
So, that'd be my only concern with it, but As stated, both plan and joint plan unanimously voted for. So I'd look for a motion one way or another.
I'll move approval of the CSN.
Motion by Joe Zitzelberger, second by Bill Random. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. New business, discuss and take action on MOA with Groundswell Conservancy relating to potential acquisition of O'Malley property. Todd?
I'll tag team with Sue as needed. I know Brian and Julie and a couple of the Park and Rec Committee members have been involved in, why don't you go to the next one if you could? The next page. Have been involved in the discussion. And it's really been going on over a year, I believe, that we've been talking about the O'Malley family seeking to sell this essentially lowland area. That is a lot of marsh, oak savanna, otherwise area territory that would be good to be conserved under the groundswell program, which is involved in this acquisition and helping coordinate some of the funding sources and some of the steps in the process. So you may have recalled from the budget process, we realized that we were coming close to an agreement on the terms that would be involved, and there was a $20,500 village contribution being sought at that time, and the board saw fit to include that in the 2019 budget. So funding is there. Tonight, you're not asked to spend that money. However, you are asked, though, to approve an agreement that lays out our intent to do so and our agreement to work with the groundswell program to complete this purchase and then put it into its new uses under the Conservancy program. So that's the very basics. This would be our step to approve that agreement, not spend the funds. That would come back to you at the appropriate time. Sue, anything to add? Or those from the committee?
Phil?
No, we addressed this at the Park and Rec Committee, and they approved the recommendation to move forward and accept the property under the Groundswell Conservancy, and they're paying a little short of $200,000 of the acquisition. The other grants and et cetera, right, Sue?
400,000.
400,000, twice.
Bless you.
It's a small cost for us, and we've identified some trail link-ups that are possible under this. So we think it'll be a positive for our village and for our park systems. So as such, I would make a motion if you're ready for a motion.
I was just gonna ask a question, but you can make the motion first. That's fine.
Go ahead, I can wait.
Sue, was there any discussion, I had to miss the last Parks meeting when this was discussed, and was there any discussion about the monies, what they were gonna be used for? Is it part of the acquisition, or is there any monies that are coming back for us to use for other things?
I'll answer that question.
Well, in discussions with the O'Malleys, we've come to a verbal agreement that this $20,500, once we spend it in 2019, will be solely for the purchase, but the O'Malleys are interested in making a donation back to the village, kind of in light of this being preserved to support our needs in managing the property going forward. So they're going to step up to the plate and say, here, set this aside in a separate fund, not connected to the purchase, but set it aside in a separate fund that you can use as need be.
Okay.
Ready? I move we approve the MOA between the Village of Waunakee and Groundswell Conservancy Incorporated relating to potential acquisition of the O'Malley property.
Motion by Phil Willems,
Second?
second by Aaron Moran. Any other comments? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we've got discuss and take action on claim for damages from Terrence Wall Enterprises LLC and Main Street Waunakee LLC.
Quick thing on the order, Adam and I were chatting earlier, we don't think the WPPA item would be that necessarily long. One suggestion might be to handle that one first, unless you'd rather take the,
So are you recommending that we go into closed session for that one first, then come back out, and then go back in?
that's an option. It's up to the board. I think,
Be opposed
I
to
mean, we
that?
have Steve here representing us on the WPPA issue, which again, I think would be a rather brief discussion.
Okay. Does anybody have any concerns or problems with that? Okay, we'll take that one first, and so we're just gonna reorder number 3, where number 2 is. So we're gonna discuss and take action WPPA union contract. The village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. So,
My only question is, are you gonna go into closed session on this and then come out, or you just wanna go in on both right away?
Question would be, maybe for Amy, is whether there's any open session discussion on the T-Wall claim to be had.
I can ask.
Okay. If not.
I'd say we just go into closed session on this item, and then we'll come back out. I don't think this is gonna take us long, based on, I'm assuming this isn't gonna take us long. I agree. So, so I'd look for a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Phil Willems.
Second.
Second by Bill Ranum. Julie, roll call vote.
Joe Zitzelsberger? Sam Bolick?
Yes.
Sue Springman?
Aye.
Bill Ranum?
Yeah.
Chris Elner?
Yes,
Bill Willems?
Yes.
Aaron Moran?
Yes.
okay. Okay, we're going back into open session at 6:26 this evening, and we are taking up the contract with the WPPA. And the board just came out of closed session where we heard the negotiations in regards to this. So I'd first look for a motion.
I move to approve the WPPA contract as presented.
Okay, motion by Phil Willems, second by Bill Ranum. Okay, are there any other comments? I'll just say I'd like to thank Steve, Adam, for doing a really good job in working
Very
with the
well done.
negotiators, as well as Todd. We had several meetings that have been going on for the last couple of months here with WPBA. It is gonna be a challenging time where we have a shortage of police officers out there, and it's important for people to understand, as we're negotiating with this, usually it's negotiating with our team. It's very difficult to get police officers right now. Tough market. So we've got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have discuss and take action on claim for damages from Terrence Wall Enterprises LLC and Main Street Waunakee LLC.
Well, our attorney is here representing us, Amy Doyle, is here, and I know the specific matters of the claim are things you want to discuss with the board in closed session. But would you mind, Amy, maybe just filling us in general on the process of claims handling? When we get a claim, how our insurance company works with us and assigning attorney, those steps, that process?
Sure.
Putting you on the spot. You've done this before, though, I'm sure.
Yes, once a claim comes in, the insurer for the municipality usually assigns it to council to evaluate the notice of claim and make a recommendation as to whether to pay off the claim, deny the claim, make some type of recommendation with respect to the notice of claim. A municipality has 120 days in which to evaluate and make a determination as to how to handle a notice of claim. So I've been assigned to evaluate the notice of claim filed or served by T-Wall and I can't remember the other corporation, with respect to the development proposal and the rezone request. And that is why we are here today. And it's something that I can discuss further in closed session.
So at this point, we'd want to go right back into closed session. So, the village board may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.851G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the village board who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the village board with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. the village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. So I would look for a motion to go into closed session.
So move.
Motion by Susan Springman,
Second.
second by Phil Willems. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's a roll
Opposed?
call
Oh,
vote.
roll call, sorry.
Aaron Moran,
Yes.
Phil Willems,
Yes.
Chris Zellner.
Yes.
Bill Random.
Yes.
Sue Springman.
Yes.
Sam Ballwig.
Yes.
Joe Zitzelsberger.
Yes.
Okay, we're coming out of closed session. It's 7:08, back into open session, where we were discussing and taking action on claim for damages from Terrence Wall Enterprises LLC and Main Street Waunakee LLC. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we deny Terrence Wall's claim against the village of Waunakee.
Motion by Phil Willems, second by Bill Random. Any other comments? Okay, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. One more motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn, and I want to thank you guys for a good year.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, everyone.
You don't have the 31st. No, you don't. You never.